how do you guys feel? And it could be your husband or just any men, period. How do you guys feel when a man argues with you? Like, what is that? What goes on through your head um, when it's happening and afterwards? Like after it's set for a minute, that he just went back and forth with you. He elevated his voice. He toe for toe, exchanging words, animated.
I just think that man has no self-control. I think that men can say things precisely clear to get their point across. I don't think that engaging in back and forth banter with a woman is productive for him or her. They always say when you see two people arguing, you don't know which one is the fool. So I believe that men can have, you know, um, clear communication without it having to be an argument. I don't even know a lot of men that like to argue. That's not a attribute of a lot of masculine men, in my opinion.
The real
It happens. Now, don't get me wrong, it happens because if you on these YouTube streets, you're going to see men going back and forth with women all day long. But that's these YouTube streets. I hope that's not what actually goes on in your household. I hope that's not. I hope life is not a debate. It's not a argument. Life shouldn't be that way. Not real life.
so once a guy argues with you, right? Let's just say he never argued with you, and then it gets to the point where things got heated, and people gotta understand it takes a lot to argue. Do you know how much
Yeah.
energy that you that it takes for you to argue? You ever get done arguing and then
It takes too much energy. Honestly, I would walk away from the situation or the conversation until we can speak like adults.
I
okay,
would say, as far as arguing with a man, it takes, or anybody, it takes two to argue. You can't argue if the person's not arguing back. So, I do understand that some men, they like to correct things. So if things are not going how it's supposed to go, since they're the leader, then they're gonna, maybe give you a challenge. But I wouldn't say that's arguing. It's just have a healthy debate. Speak respectfully. And if someone is yelling, that doesn't mean you have to yell back. Because like I said, it takes two to do that. So that's all I want to say briefly.
okay. It's taken and Shan, when a man is arguing with you, just kind of walk us through what's going on through you guys' heads, from based off experiences, or maybe you've seen some of your friends and family doing it. It don't have to be personal, but I'm just trying to get an idea of how women view it, at least the women on the panel.
Um, I don't know. I think when an argument occurs, I'm not really thinking about necessarily how it looks at him arguing. Like we're just in a moment and we're arguing. So probably most of the things that's going through my head is listening to what he's saying, and then it's like, oh, that doesn't even make sense, or whatever it is what we're arguing about, just giving my viewpoint about the situation and him giving his. But I can admit that most times if an argument occurs, as he's typically the one to be like, you know what, all right, you're right, I'll give it, you're right. And I know he don't mean that I'm right. I just know that he means that I'm done. I'm not going to continue with this argument. I'm over it. So he shuts it down by just saying you right. I know that. And I give time like afterwards. I mean, because like dating Lady Di said before, you look stupid arguing by yourself. So once that happens, I will always go back later on to have that conversation. I just know in the moment, in that point, that nothing is going to come out of out of the argument. But we always typically will follow up, and we neither one of us have an issue with apologizing later on. But I do realize we both need that time in between to really reflect on what the other one said, and then go back and apologize for where we were wrong.
I realized I didn't answer the question, JR. You asked how would I feel if someone was, I guess, yelling at me. Back then, I used to feel that I was being attacked. Like everything I would do was wrong, or you don't like what I'm saying. So then that would feel like, okay, well, am I a child? Because only people that argue or want to yell is parents. But as I got older, I realized that's not what it is. And I learned how to have a conversation. So it shouldn't be any arguing anyway. And most people argue because they just don't like what's going on and they don't understand what's going on. So they feel they have to yell.
Okay. Um, Andy and Shan, real quick, what's going on through your head when a man is arguing with you?
They're sassy. That's a sassy man. You said animated though. That's why I'm like, I've seen it though. Like men really go like back in. I don't argue with men, and the men in my life, in my circle, are very stoic. So like they will walk away from you before they get loud with you or whatever it is and engage in that. And then they'll come back and tell you, they make statements. Like they're not going to go back and forth. They're going to say what they're going to say and leave. And so when I do see that, all I think about is like somebody that feels like they're not being heard, like passionate, sassy, animated, and a lot of those characteristics we see in women. I haven't like seen that in like masculine man.
Okay. And last Shan Monet.
I don't even know because I ain't never had that experience. But I know I can just say if anybody argues with me, I like to debate. So I get passionate about when I'm debating and I'll even do that right.
You
So
say passionate. What's passionate? Is that
like I get my emotions in a debate. Like that's why I like these podcasts because it helps me, articulate myself properly. But when I'm in a relationship with a guy and if he argues at me, I'll probably shut down. I probably won't even say anything. I do not like confrontation at all.
so? Would you say that's some type of trauma?
No, I'm just not. I don't like. I'm just not a that person. I've never been in a fight in my life, y'all. Never. I've never.
And time she needed to say stuff, she did.
I don't.
Yeah.
I just compromise. Okay, you got it.
So I'm gonna tell you guys something I always bring up too, right? Because I don't even think people even know what the definition of argument is, which is an exchange of divergent or opposite views, typically a heated or angry one. Why is it being labeled an argument from the start? People, anytime there's a disagreement, I think a conversation should be had, but why does it have to be titled an argument? Because you're setting the tone right there when you say, I'm not about to argue with you. And typically people put that out there loosely because they don't want to hear what the person has to say. Sometimes the truth hurts. Or sometimes when you know you're wrong and somebody's going to identify what the problem is, you say, I'm not going to argue with you. It's kind of like a deflection. It's like they're shutting down because they don't want to hear that truth. So let's just start by not even labeling an argument. Let's converse. Let's just have a conversation, right?
Yeah, it should be a conversation, not a confrontation.
Yes, that's different. We can have a conversation.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and, lastly, this is the last question I have, and I want to keep it real quick on this so I can get to this context. Tone. What's considered a disrespectful tone? It's probably different for everybody, right?
From a man? Yeah, from a man, because I think it should be more of a tone to kind of let a person know what time it is versus yelling. I do think tone is important because you can, with a certain tone, they know. Tone, I think tone is important. However, men operate differently than women. I've been someone that's been on a team most of my life, had coaches in front of me all my life. So you have to know when somebody means business as opposed to, when someone is just, nagging about something because they want something done. I think most times when men speak in a different tone, they're trying to elevate, their point because now I mean business on this. And a lot of women can't take that because they're not used to someone coaching them. They're not used to someone being in front of them, correcting them. And that's what a man's job is to do. He's, it's correction, leadership, provision. So I think tone is important. However, you do have to know your person to know when he means business and when, it's just a regular back and forth between you two.
Okay. Let me go ahead and play this clip, and then you guys can finish the conversation and get the gentleman involved.
Have a battlefield, and men have a battlefield in the way they communicate. For me, I always tell men, never get drawn onto women's battlefield with an argument, because they argue differently from us, and they will drag you onto that battlefield and they will win because you are not well versed in the way in which women argue. Mm-hmm. I feel like women argue with manipulation, they argue with emotion, and you know, when all else fails, they'll pull the victimhood card.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, if I get drawn into that, they will always win.
All right, that's the context for it right there. What do you guys thought? Let me get some of the men in there. Ladies, sit back for a second.
Yeah, I'm with him, man. That's why I try not to argue. I mean, and like what Miss Taken said, she said she try to listen to what he's saying, but a lot of women don't even be listening. They hear what you're saying, but they don't be listening. They don't be receiving what you're saying. They just hear what you're saying, and then when you get finished, it's like double dutch. You know, they trying to get in there and say what they got to say. And this tone, you can have the right tone. You can say, you know, be quiet, or you can say it louder, or you can say, be quiet, real low, you know, change your tone, but you mean what you're saying. But a lot of women is out here tone deaf, you know, because men, when we come in and have a conversation with you, or we approach you, you know, we usually unemotionally stern, short and precise. You know, we try to be logical with it and be like, hey, look, this is a problem. Can you fix it? And then whenever you have a rebuttal to it, or you have a disagreement, then it turns into an argument. But we don't get nothing. We don't have any stake in the argument. We don't get any, our dick don't get hard or nothing like that. We don't get any benefit from arguing with you. Our thing is to try to take the shortest path to the resolution. And what happens is we be trying to take that. We can see the path before that. We already thinking like, okay, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna be done with it. But we already know that's not how it's gonna play out. So then we got to go through an obstacle course to get to it. And a lot of times that's the only way women hear it. They only hear it the worst way, you know, the worst way to argue.
Okay. Jay?
Yeah, I think you have to be able to distinguish who's trying to come up with a resolution and who has some shit on their chest that they just want to piss you off and get a rise out of you, you know, because they'll definitely want to see you out of character, you know. Bruiser is kind of like a stern, soft-spoken, you know, so they be like, let me see. I ain't never seen him revved up before. Let me see what he look like when he's, you know, so they'll purposefully pick stuff because they want to see if he got it in him or what they think he should have in him. You know, let me see if he got some dog in him. So you have to distinguish who's trying to do that and get a rise out of you versus who is actually trying to have a conversation. They're just a little emotional. And with that, you know, you can have a conversation. And I think your tone, like me, you really, really have to work to get me revved up. And then when I'm there, I'm there. You know what I mean? And I have to literally run away to calm back down because nothing's going to get resolved. We're not coming to no resolution. You know, you got me there. Now you got to deal with me there. But for the most part, you know, my tone is usually this pace. You know, all right, well, say what's on your mind. All right, well, I'm sorry. Why do you feel that way? You know, like that's how I am most times, you know, so I think that's how you get stuff resolved. You know, your tone is definitely important, but I think you have to figure out who's trying to get a rise out of you because they're pissed off. They've been holding stuff in for a period of time. So it's like, yeah, I want to see him get bucked.
And it might be tricky for guys who's in these partnerships, these 50-50 relationships where the woman has some type of authority or she thinks she has some type of authority. I mean, I don't know how y'all handle that. But if I'm taken care of, I'm the provider and the protector. You know what I'm saying? I expect you to treat me like your boss. Don't argue with me. If you want to argue with your boss and you listen to what he say and do whatever he tell you to do, give me the same respect.
I go ahead, Hank.
Man, I'm not gonna sit there and argue with no woman, no tackhead, no chick or nothing.
What?
You waste your goddamn time arguing with these heifers, man. Don't do it. Men, don't do it. Just say what you guys say in a calm, respectful voice and keep it moving. She won't keep talking, walk away. That's another equivalent of leaving her ass at a goddamn restaurant. You walk away. You go into another room, you go, man, if you got to go take a cruise around the block, then do what you got to do. Don't sit there and argue and then come back and have a hopefully a more respectful conversation after she calms down and get out of her feelings. Don't waste your time with this bullshit. So no, I'm not gonna sit there and argue with no chick, man. It's a waste of goddamn time.
Yeah, I'm going to speak on it a little bit. I did see you come up to Real Precious. I know you want to chime in. I don't know if you agree or disagree with the men, but I guess we're gonna find out in a second. But I do think that it's important for men to set the foundation in the beginning because it can eliminate a lot of argument. And then even if you recognize something that wasn't brought up in the beginning, then I think you need to check it right then and there. I do think that men have to speak up, even if they feel the woman is going to argue. If it's something that you just don't stand for, or if it's something that's just unacceptable, then you got to speak on it. Whether they want to label the argument or not, then it's going to be up to you to dictate how that conversation is going to go. You know, if they want to argue, say, hey, we're not going to have that. You know, this is not what it's going to be. We have to have this conversation. If the conversation can't be had right then and there, then best believe, make sure you had that conversation hours later or the next day, however you want to do it, but the conversation must be had. You can't let things go. And if it's a stranger, let's say you have to do some type of business call or something like that, and then somebody come off disrespecting you, you're going to check it then, right? So if it's somebody that you know, you still got to do that same courtesy of checking it right then and there. Checking is not a bad thing. It's just you're setting the standard that you're going to have within that relationship, whatever it may be. But I think it's important to set a foundation because sometimes you may have somebody that just don't know you, that they may have known you a few days, a few weeks, and they may try some shit. But if you don't check it, if you don't speak on it, if you don't let them know that's not what it's going to be, then it can get out of hand later. It's going to be harder to try to recover from that because the respect is lost then. But shouldn't a woman just be sitting there arguing with you? It's important for you to identify what type of conversation that you guys are going to indulge in. But go ahead, the Real Precious.
Well, I went first. I spoke on it first, but I did want to say that he spoke about manipulation in that clip. And manipulation, like things like that, to me is a part of somebody's like spirit. So you know what I mean. It's hard to change someone that is going to try to manipulate the situation, or especially with a man. A man is looking for a team player. So you know what I mean. If you're going to do that, you automatically should know, you know what I mean, that's not your team player if she's going trying to manipulate the situation. And I think a lot of men rather not argue, rather not, engage if they know that is her mission. And it's easy to spot a woman who does that. And I think some men may stay too long with these type of women because these type of women don't need to be, in relationships. They don't need to be, they need to be coached, more disciplined, more something, more structure, because manipulation is something that for a woman can really destroy a man. Women can say anything against a man and now he's in trouble. He ain't hit her. He didn't yell at her. He didn't do anything. But a woman can use that manipulation tactic and really break down a man. And I think when men see that in women, they need to walk away fast, quick, and in a hurry. She means you no good whatsoever. You have to be with someone that's going to be, agreeable. And women will test you. That's a fact. Men know that women will test him, but how are you testing him? Are you testing him to be better? Or are you testing him to bring out the worst in him? There are two ways you can test a man. And testing him doesn't mean that you're going to poke and prod at him. Testing him means, is he a man of his word? Is he the leader that he says he is? Will he stand on his word? So that manipulation, for men, run. You see a woman, y'all in the argument or a back and forth or a place where you're exchanging words and she's trying to manipulate you, leave.
I mean, I don't have no problem with it at all. I went as far as I hung up on her. Girlfriend trying to argue me on the phone, I'll hang up on your ass. You call me back, you're going to keep getting that F you button. I'm not going to answer your call until you can talk to me like you got some sense. I'll say, you ready to talk? No? Hang up. Don't play these games with these chicks. Like you said, that's all they doing is testing you. But don't let them test you to the point where it's going to get your ass locked up. Or you get a damn a police come knocking at your door talking about heard a disturbance. Why? Because now you done got out of character. They done got you off your goddamn square. And now they sit back smiling. Oh, I know what I got him right where I want him. That's bullshit. You better leave that heifer at the restaurant. She don't deserve your energy.
But if she your wife, then I mean, at some cases you gonna
have to deal with it, no bruiser. You
I'm
still
saying, if she your wife, man, like I tell my wife all the time, you better be glad I'm arguing back with you, because she don't like it when I get, loud and shit. I said, is either I get loud or I'm in the streets. Which one you want? Because I mean, I'm telling you, like, a lot of these women, bro, like they'll try to test you, and they'll poke at you, and you be throwing away makeup and tearing doors and shit off the hinges. But I'm not trying to go there. I'm just saying, look, I'm here. I'm your husband. I married you because I love you, and I want to look out for your best interest. So whatever I say or whatever I do is not to pick on you. You know what I'm saying? If I'm supposed to lead, you got to let me lead. Don't try to rip my balls away from me and tell me I need to do this. No, that's not what the fuck's going on. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I left the bread open on the counter. But let it be that. Don't come and try to give me a sermon on leaving the bread on the counter and how hard it is and how tired. No, don't give a fuck about that shit. I do a lot of shit and I don't complain. When I see goddamn a piece of toilet paper in the bathroom where you left, I don't go and say, don't be leaving it. No. Just go ahead and pick that shit up. I just tell her, hey, look, just close the bread up, man. I don't want to hear that shit. Yeah, my bad. I make mistakes. I ain't perfect. But these women want you to be perfect.
I think part of it too, we can all agree that men and women are different. We process things differently. We feel things differently. And I think for women, tone has a bigger impact on them than for men. I think men have an issue with tone coming from other men. Women have an issue with tone coming from men as well. And so I don't think is anything wrong with that. It's just understanding that the way that you argue and the way that you speak, that your tone is going to impact a woman more so than it would impact you. So what my husband had to learn, and even I had to learn, is that because I know I am he has a voice, the way that he speaks is, and so when we're in the middle of arguing, sometimes I have to say, babe, watch the way you're saying that, and vice versa, because I see that it's getting to a point that is making me feel uncomfortable. And now once it hits that tone where I'm uncomfortable, then I match his energy, and that's not going to be healthy for either one of us, because at that point we're not even going to hear each other. And vice versa. If I might be yelling and not even realize it, because I'm like in my feels, like I'm talking, and he'd be like, yo, babe, tone that down. And so that's how we have to operate, because I think when you're in the middle of an argument, you may not necessarily know that your voice is getting louder. You're just trying to get your point across, or you're trying to be heard. And so I think it's important that both people understand their partner and how they argue. So when you see that it's starting to go left, that somebody has enough sense to be like, all right, let's just table this for later. Or, okay,
somebody is always the man. Men are always the one to try to escape it. We always trying to pull back. What y'all do?
I had to walk
what y'all do is say, no,
this
time. Y'all say, we're going to talk about this now. We always the ones that say, hey, look, man, let's just talk about another time. I don't want to talk about it. No, you ain't going to disrespect. Listen, why is it so hard for y'all to just say, okay, I see he getting mad. You know what I'm saying? I see what he did to the window last year. How about we just talk about another time? Y'all don't give a fuck. Y'all be like, hey, I'm a strong black woman. Fuck that. My mama told me not to. Why y'all can't just buy?
A lot of women don't operate in a feminine energy like that. You know what I mean? Women don't always have to have the last word. One thing a woman has to learn to control first and foremost is her mouth. That is the first thing a woman must learn how to control. I mean, coming out of college, You know what I mean? Because you live in that college life. Can't nobody tell you nothing. You having your experiences. You're having fun. You're having your damn. But you have to be able to control your mouth and know that you can't just say anything. Anything that come out of your mouth just can't fly. Because if you want to be in a relationship, if you want to be with somebody, you have to know that he is the leader. So, like I said, I've been on teams. My coach, when he raised his voice, you know what I mean? He wasn't mean to us. He wasn't trying to be, mean to us. It's time for business. Like y'all need to get on the line and run this lap. You know what I mean? And we knew he meant business. There's a time and place for everything.
Is different though. Like when you're in that relationship with a coach or whatever, I think it's different when it's matters of the heart. But I do think it is a matter of showing the same respect. And I think a lot of times that's what happens is that when you get in the middle of argument, the respect sometimes go out the window. And once you lose that respect, then that becomes the issue. Because a lot of times what you're arguing about is never necessarily what the argument is about. It's always the underlying issue. Like if I'm like, you keep leaving your shoes here. I've asked you several times, please stop leaving the shoes. And then the argument turns into the shoes or stuff being left. But the real underlying issue is that I feel disrespected, or I feel like you don't care, or I feel that you're taking things for granted, right? That's the real issue. And that's what we don't talk about.
But like you said, it's the matters of the heart. And you say it's different. As someone who is an athlete, your heart is to win. Your heart is to get it accomplished. And I think a lot of people don't, when you're talking about relationships in sports, it may be a little bit different, but it really kind of is the same. If you've played a sport before and you've had that discipline and you've had that respect for your coach and you've had, to endure, you know what I mean? It a little bit is the same. What the matters of the heart is different because now you're talking about another person that, you know what I mean? Like you said, it's not about the shoes anymore. Now it's about an underlying issue. When in sports, it's about winning and getting, but the matters of the heart are still there. Do you want that person to succeed? What position they play. You believe in them enough.
Hold on. Can I say something? But there's the problem with that shoe thing or little petty shit like that. I go out in the world as a black man, strong black man, monogamous. I wife you up, buy you a house, buy you cars, everything you want, giving you babies and all this other shit. And I go to work, be blown the fuck out, tired and shit. But you got the nerve to come talk to me about some damn shoes.
Yes, because
I'm Superman. I'm Superman, but you're gonna degrade me. You're gonna degrade me, my superhero abilities, to some damn shoe. Girl, if you don't pick them,
leaving your cape.
I don't want to hear that.
Stop leaving your cape in the floor.
I think there's some women who have had trauma. They haven't had to have, like, let's say Miss Real Precious had the experience to be in sports and get that discipline. Some people don't even have their dads, so they don't understand how to be in some type of order. They have to nitpick at everything because they like, oh, everything is perfect. So let me find something to yell at. They used to confrontation. So I think that women need to be teachable. If you have a man that's doing something like what Bruiser mentioned, then you should not be sitting here saying, oh, why is that out? Why is this here? Why is that there? Just appreciate that he even, first of all, came home. He's, providing the things that you want. And then go from there. Just, tie the bread back up. Everything shouldn't have to be an argument. Everything doesn't have to be spoken about. Yeah, it's probably annoying as hell that you see bread open. Okay. Yeah, it's annoying as hell that you're tripping over some shoes or whatever it is that, some men normally do. But at the same time, did he come home? Is he still providing for you? Then those things are like small. Those small things is going to add up to big things if you keep saying shit all day, every day. And it's like there's no breaks, so then there's no peace. So how you supposed to have peace in the home? Because that's what we're supposed to have after you come from work or whatever it is that y'all doing. Y'all want to be peaceful. So if you always finding some shit to talk about, then that's not peace. That means you don't respect him. And I think
the moment them shoes ain't there.
Let me just say this one thing, because you said you brought this up. Most people are not in a situation where the man is the only one out there being the breadwinner, working all day and doing all of those things. Now, if that was the case, if I was an at-home mom and he worked and then came home, I don't think the argument or the discussion about the shoes would be as a big of a deal, because the only thing I'm doing when he comes home is putting his shoes on the shoe thing.
That wasn't
But
my
if I'm
example.
I mean, you got power because you're going to work.
That wasn't my example.
hold on.
Oh, y'all, one at a time, y'all.
Hold on.
One at a time.
So if I am at work all day and I come home, most of the time, especially in my house, I am the one that contributes to cleaning the house most of the time. So I'm coming home. I've cleaned the house all day. I've gone to work. I come home, and for me, it's a matter of respect. Wow, I'm coming home to a clean house. I don't see any let me just put my shoes in the shoe bin.
That's
It doesn't
respect for
take
you.
a
Men
whole
are
lot.
different.
I
Men
feel
are
a
different.
level of disrespect if I clean the house from top to bottom and then you come right behind me and mess up the house. That's like me going to your job and just throwing all your papers all over the floor. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh, this is
it's just a matter of having
you reach.
common courtesy for each other. Now, if I say, babe, can you put your shoes in the thing? He doesn't have a problem with it. Even like we had a rule in our house. He told me it bothers him when I come in the house on the phone. It does something with his peace. He wants that first time when we meet for us to have some, break time with each other to kind of get on the same page or whatever when we first come home. And for me, the exchange was, I understand. So if we're looking at peace, these are things that bother me. When I come in a house and I see shoes all over the place, for me, it automatically sends me into my next job move. Now I got to come home and do another job. And so out of respect for each other, we respect that because we know that's a level of peace that each one of us need when we come in a house. So that's
that could be a problem.
It's
That
just a
could
way
be a
to say
problem.
it. I agree to that. I think that people should respect each other in that way. I agree. But then there's some people who they express it very like aggressively. So if someone's leaving their shoes, then you could pick it up and be like, hey, I want, just say it in a different way. I want the shoes to be in this space. I picked it up for you, and just be nice. Just, keep constantly being nice about it. That's all I'm saying. You could do those things, but don't be all aggressive.
Get to simply. Go ahead. Andy. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that Lady Di had kind of said it at first, but it starts in the household. So all of those like familiar differences start in the household. Like when a woman grows up without a father figure, she doesn't know how to take the tone of a man. Like I said, I was surrounded by my stepdad, my dad. I knew when they said something. My mom knew when they said something. It was like, that was it. It was law. There was no back and forth. And that started off in the home. Same with men. Like Bruiser was talking about a man breaking a window. That's lack of learning how to like deal and manage negative emotion as a man, because a man can make his point and express his emotion without doing it in a way that escalates to breaking stuff. You know what I mean? Like doing things like that. And I get that things are like passionate or heated, but that is definitely something that starts in the home. And you have to acknowledge like, hey, this is a broken area. Like we've been conditioned to aggressively communicate. Let's be cognitive of it and change that. Like, that's why I'm like, a lot of couples, when they first get married, don't realize that they have differing communication styles. Like, how did your mom talk to your dad? Or how did your dad talk to your mom? Or how did you guys communicate when you leave like you said, like shoes on the floor? Or how does that make that person feel? So like learning how to communicate without allowing escalation. Like,
man, look, all I'm gonna say is this, man. Y'all gotta understand that just like y'all go through shit in y'all life, y'all deal with emotions. Y'all got these phases y'all go through when y'all on your damn periods. You got these phases y'all go through after pregnancy, postpartum, and y'all lack doing shit and y'all just be mentally disconnected. We got the same shit. Sometimes but ours is real simple. Sometimes we just be damn tired and we forget to leave our shoes at the door. We got emotions too. We got feelings too, but y'all don't look at that. Y'all can't just say, oh, maybe he had a hard day at work. I'll pick his shoes up. Look at all the shit this man has done for you before you start saying, hey, look, babe, I need you to do this. Man, look, if it was a cell phone that we left at the door, Y'all wouldn't be talking about y'all would have went through that motherfucker. Y'all wouldn't be, I'm like, hey, babe, you left your cell phone. Had that same energy with my goddamn Jordans. Had the same damn energy.